Welcome to the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation by the Numbers, presented by Michelle Foster, President and CEO. Overall, the year 2019 was a tremendous one for the foundation. Donors contributed $6.4 million to discretionary, donor-advised, donor-designated, and scholarship funds. We established 12 new funds, and our assets are now at approximately $266 million as of the end of 2019. This presentation is a reflection on contributions received and distributions made by the Foundation in 2019. We ended the year with 533 funds in total. 189 of these funds were donor designated, or this represented 36% of our total funds. 125 of these funds were discretionary, or 23%. There were 111, or 21%, scholarship funds, and 108, or 20%, donor-advised funds. The number of funds in each fund category is shown on the left chart. On the right, we see the value of these funds. Our portfolio was comprised of 20% donor-advised funds. These funds were valued at 36% of our assets, followed by donor-designated funds at 31% and discretionary funds at 24%. Scholarship funds represented 9% of our assets. So the value of our funds are shown in the right chart. Altogether, they totaled $265,698,298 in value. Our assets are growing. At $266 million, our assets were the highest they've been in 8 years, having grown by over $40 million between 2018 and 2019. Annual contributions are at an all-time high. This chart shows our annual contributions, which were at a 5-year high in 2019 with $6.4 million. Contributions have risen steadily since 2017, as seen on this chart. Now moving on to distributions made, or our grant awards for 2019. This chart shows the total distribution by fund type versus the number of grant awards made. The Foundation distributes scholarship awards to deserving West Virginia students and grant awards from 3 different types of funds to nonprofit organizations. The left vertical axis represents the dollars distributed in each category, while the right vertical axis represents the number of awards. The bars show the total amounts distributed in each category, and the line shows the number of awards in each category. A total of $10.8 million were distributed through 747 grants and 362 scholarship awards. There were 100 discretionary, 407 donor-advised, and 240 donor-designated grants. They comprised that total 747 grants awarded. At $3.86 million, donor-advised funds distributed the largest number of grant awards and the most dollars to our community. at $3.68 million. Donor-designated grants were the next highest, and there was $312 million worth of discretionary grants distributed through our competitive grant-making process. Then there were scholarships. We distributed a large number of scholarships, and the total was $736,812 for those 362 scholarships. So this chart just shows the different fund types, so you can see how much was distributed from each type of fund, as well as the number of awards that were made. This chart shows the average grant award for each category. Grant awards were disaggregated into 9 categories for analysis. These categories were health, education, both community-based education and university education, arts and culture, basic needs, community economic development, religious, animals, and intermediary organizations. The health category had the highest average award of a little over $22,000, which was $22,227 to be exact, while grants to religious organizations had the lowest average, a little over $8,000. It should be noted that scholarship awards averaged $2,000. This chart shows the distribution categories for grants awarded during 2019. Continuing on with the 9 grant categories, the chart shows the percent of our total grant making that was distributed in each of the 9 categories. With $3.1 million in distributions, health programs received the most financial support through 138 grants. Education programs were a close second, with $3 million in distributions. $1.9 million went to community-based programs, and $1.1 million went to colleges and universities, through a total of 210 grants. So we see health, then we see education, community-based, 18%, and education, university, college-based, 10%. Arts and culture programs received $1.53 million. So you see arts and culture, 14% there, through 96 grants, and so that was the 3rd highest distribution. Basic needs programs received $1.5 million in financial support, so you're seeing the basic needs program there at 14%. We had a total of 162 basic needs grants that were supported. Now we're going to move on to distributions from each fund type. Starting with donor-advised funds. Distributions in this category totaled $3.9 million. 30% of these distributions went to community-based education programs. As we see there, 30%, and 21% went to health programs, while arts and culture programs received 19%. Moving on to donor-designated grant making. Donor-designated grants totaled $3.7 million. 33% went to health programs, 24% went to universities, and 17% went to arts and culture programs. Those were the top three categories. This chart shows discretionary grant making by those key categories in which we make discretionary grants: health, education, community economic development, basic needs, and arts and culture. Our discretionary grant making totaled $3.2 million. Health programs received 33% of these grants, followed by basic needs programs that received 29%, and community-based education programs that received 19%. We measure the impact of our discretionary grant making, and this is all a part of our strategic planning process. This chart shows the dollars granted in each category on the left vertical axis and individuals expected to be impacted on the right vertical axis. Health programs receive the highest investment of funding, but they expect to impact the third largest number of individuals. So we've got the health bar up here, and then the line showing the number of individuals expected to be impacted. The least amount of discretionary funding went to arts and culture organizations, but these programs were expected to impact the second largest number of individuals. So we've got the bar here showing the dollars, and then the impact in terms of individuals to be that they anticipated reaching is up here. Basic needs programs impact the largest number of people, and they received the second most funding. So we've got basic needs, the largest number of people, over 73,000 people are expected to be impacted, and they received the second most funding, below health. The foundation operates on a modest budget, this budget includes legal support as well as capacity building for our nonprofits and pilot programs. At $1.9 million, administrative expenses were only 15% of total distributions, as shown in the chart on the right, and only 1% of our assets, as shown in the chart on the left. Feel free to contact me at any time with questions about this by the numbers presentation. On behalf of the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation Board of Trustees, staff, volunteers, and thousands of community residents who benefit, thank you to all of our donors. Without you, our grant making would not be possible. Thank you so much.